Is Predator Hunting Grounds pay to win? This is something that I have heard many times over the years, that the DLCs are overall better than the default classes, the free classes in the game, and that by buying them, it's gonna give certain players an advantage over others. And in my opinion, overall, no, not as much as people think. The main issue with the game is not the DLCs at all. Sure, some of the DLCs can like give a little bit of an advantage, but I don't think it's like that significant, and that the free classes can be instead. I mean, some of them can be just as good. We can compare, like, let's say Dante with support. Both Dante and support are OP, and I guess some people could argue that Dante was overall better and was definitely pay to win back when he had Field Medic, but that was removed. But yeah, maybe when Dante had Field Medic, that was like the closest thing that we really had to a pay to win DLC, because it was a class without any weakness or having the best specialization in the game. Well, support also had the best specialization in the game, however, it had the weakness of being slow with low power points, while Dante did not have that. Back then, I would say having 4 support field medics was really broken. However, I feel that having 2 Dante field medics and 2 support field medics was even more, because Dante could be more tanky than the support while running, while having more speed and stamina. So that was like the closest thing that we had. But most of the DLCs, I mean, I'm gonna try to go like through like all the order that they released. I don't think one of the first ones. I mean, I'm gonna start with the Fireteam ones. The first one that we had for Fireteam was Dutch 2025, and it was like a good class. Back then, we did not have specializations, and the class was like overall this in this area between support and assault. It was like a tankier support or a lighter assault, and it was like just okay. And back then, like the passives of the classes were different. I think that assault did not have the extra bullet damage, and support did not have the damage resistance, so they were like all around the same level. It was when support got the damage resistance to teammates that it kind of became like really OP, mainly because of like it just buffs all the other players by giving them damage resistance. So Dutch 25 wasn't overall like a big deal stats wise. The Hammerhead, yeah, I mean the Hammerhead made a difference. It became the best assault rifle in the game for sure, but that was also unlockable by leveling up later on, so it was not like exclusive to buying the DLC. After him, we got Dutch 87. Dutch 87 was overall better than Dutch 2025. It was just tanky while being able to do more damage. I think that when he was released, we did not have specialization yet, but then he became even stronger with specializations like Leader and Fanatic. But he was overall like a better version of Dutch. Had a little less HP, but because of his mud damage resistance, he kind of became tankier, or being able to do more damage because of his hip fire damage buff. Overall, good power points, everything about him in regards to speed and stamina. He was faster than old Dutch. But the only weakness that he had, and he had at least one weakness, was that his gear points were low, so he could not bring resources. But that could be solved by just having teammates, which could bring those resources to you. So in the end, he was kind of like a little bit too strong in my opinion, just because like he only had one weakness, and his one weakness could be solved, but just by having your teammates fix it for you. So he was like overall very strong. He was like a better version of this assault overall, because he could take more damage while being able to apply more damage, especially while hip firing with the pistol, which was the weapon with the highest damage per second in the game. Then after him we got Dante, and I think this was around the same time that they added specialization, which completely broke the game. I would say the biggest problem with the game, like about the what people call about having a fair play, fair advantage over other players or not, it had more to do with the balance changes in regards to adding fighting specializations, which are very OP. We'll just keep buffing a lot of stuff and nerfing priority weapons. That's the main issue with the game. It's not the classes. We got the Dante class together with around this time we had the specializations, which broke the game because they added a class like I mentioned, Dante, which has no weakness. He has everything, HP more. I mean, actually more than the average, more HP than the average, good amount of speed, stamina, perk points, gear points. The best specialization in the game at the time, which was Field Medic. He had everything. Like it was just like a class with no weakness, and having people use this completely gave them advantage. So this time, definitely Dante was pay to win. With Field Medic, definitely like he would just like give a big advantage to all the players that use this. Later on, we got Isabel, which was like the opposite. She was called pay to lose DLC, because she was overall the worst fighting class in the game. She was like a version of the Exalted Recon that is like overall worse. A light class without many gear points. She doesn't have many gear points. She doesn't have many perk points. Specializations are like okay, but she has low HP. Her speed and stamina doesn't really make up for all her stats. So it was like the opposite. Like Dante was just super strong, or Isabel was super weak, and they valued the same amount of money in the game. So like it was just weird, especially because the two fighting classes that should be stronger, which are Dutch 2025 and Isabel, because they're lore-wise supposed to be characters that have killed predators and have more experience fighting them. They're like the weakest fighting class in the game. It doesn't make any sense balance-wise. Now for the Predator DLCs. I would say probably the closest thing that we had to like a Predator class that was that could be people say, oh, this class is definitely better than all the others, would be Bionic at launch. Also Pirate at launch, because I think the Pirate was around the same, but it didn't have the same repercussion as Bionic. But Bionic, in my opinion, even then, it wasn't really pay to win. It was more like pay to have a fair chance or pay to actually feel like a Predator, because at launch Bionic did not have any energy drain while using thermal vision and cloak, which is something that like it just I believe it just makes it more fair, because the energy drain at the moment for Predator is just so bad, it's just too high. It limits the gameplay a lot, while Fireteam doesn't have to worry about any limitations. So the Predator classes, especially because of the balance and how like the weapons keep getting nerfed, the energy was nerfed, Fireteam just has OP as it has always been. I would say that the Predator classes that are good at the game, there are of course there are the DLC ones. It just gives like you more of a fair chance. It doesn't really give you free wins like Dante. Just bringing two Dante field medics and two support field medics will definitely give you a free win, even against Predator players that are much better than you. However, any Predator class, you still have to play smart. You still have to use it well. You still have to hit those shots. You need to know how to aim. The having class like Bionic alone just gave you more of a fair advantage, in my opinion. It wasn't really giving like free wins to bad players like the fighting classes could do. Now for the order. The first Preto DLC that came out was the Samurai, and back then I believe that it was considered to be the worst Preto class in the game. In 2020, I didn't really pay much attention to the game stats. I just play like whatever. I never tried to really evaluate the classes and stuff. I really didn't care about this stuff. But I remember that people at the Iphonic forums, there was one guy that made a post talking about the challenge of using samurai. Or every day let's have one day of the week that we use the samurai class because it's the worst one in the game. I didn't even get the samurai at launch because I didn't like the idea. I wanted to have the movie predators, and they added a cosplaying predator, which I didn't care. I only bought the samurai class many months after, and it was just because I wanted his dreadlocks to be able to use in other classes. But the samurai launch was just like not good. And even after they added specializations, they changed some stuff. They changed some stuff on him. It's the only class in the game which has resistance to knife damage. So for knife fights, if you're gonna do like a 1v1 knife fight, he can be good. But for everything else, he's just too slow, low stamina, doesn't really have much more HP to make up for that. He's like this cross between Hunter and Berserker, but doesn't really have the strength of either. So he's just like not really impressive. Then they added City Hunter, and at launch, City Hunter was the best Predator class for the game, but it didn't last long. It was like a Hunter class, he had the same gear, perk points as Hunter, while being faster and having more energy. So yeah, City Hunter at launch was like overall like the best Predator class in the game. However, his spark points were nerfed from 12 to 10 after a while. I think some people complained. But to be honest, his extra speed and energy did not make that much difference. Honestly, like comparing to the other class, he was like just a little bit better than Hunter, but it's not by that much. Then we had the Viking, which was like a better Berserker. But then again, like any class in the game is a better Berserker. So the Viking was like okay at launch. I don't think we had specializations yet. He was like a better version of the tanky class in the game for the Predators. But still, like just the Fall Hunter was still overall better than the Viking. Then we got the Valkyrie, which also brought a lot of controversy, because she was like a Predator class that only had the one weakness, which was low gear points. But she had some really good points to make up for that. She had higher HP than Hunter, higher stamina, and higher speed. So a lot of people are saying, oh, she's paid to win, because she's like a Hunter with more HP, speed, stamina, and perk points. And it's like pretty much like what the Amazon is right now, the Valkyrie used to be at launch. But she had the big weakness of not being able to carry much gear. Mainly, she could not bring traps, which traps made a lot of difference. It was the most useful gear that the Predators could ever have. So comparing her to like Scout, which is similar because she also has a lot of speed and stamina, she was like completely better. She might have one less perk point at the time, which was 14, but her extra HP kind of made up for that because she didn't have to use impenetrable like Scout, so she could have like more freedom to use other better pair combinations. So overall, she was pretty good. However, while comparing to Hunter or City Hunter, she did not have the option to bring traps, which sometimes could give easy kills for the Predator. Even also comparing to like say, let's say the Elder at the time wasn't like among the it was like okay, I would say it was pretty close to Hunter or City Hunter, but before they added specializations and gave Elder Stalker, he wasn't really like among the top because of his low speed. But he had I think that back then he was like the class that had the most amount of energy in the game. After that, they end up like nerfing the Valkyrie to what she is now, and now she's just like nothing special really, which was a shame. After that came the Cleopatra DLC, which was a DLC that a lot of people were expecting for a while because of the Dutch tapes. This was the Predator that defeated Dutch, so a lot of people wanted to see how good it was gonna be in the game. And I would say it was like okay. I would say is like around the same level that the Elder was. She was like a another. It was the second Predator to have the Stalker specialization, which for many years was overall like the best one in the game. And she was like a version of the Elder with still low stamina, which was a problem, but she had more a little bit more HP and she had a little bit more gear points. But her perk points were a little bit lower than Elder, but still for it was like okay overall for good combinations. At launch, her speed was lower than she was now. She ended up like her speed was buffed a couple patches after, which kind of made her like overall like a good class. But she was like I would say like overall the same level as like City Hunter, Hunter, Elder. Like she was like just okay, like not pay to win at all. Then it came the Exalted Predator, which was like just like a scout variant, like not really good. It's like a scout that has less perk points but has more gear points, so he can bring traps. Just overall like mid class. Then we had the first Hunting Party DLC bundle, which brought Mr. Black, Falconer, and Capture. Capture is the same thing as Hunter. Mr. Black soon became one of my favorite classes to use in the game because he had a lot of energy and he had infinite thermal vision. I think it was one of the first DLC classes to have infinite thermal vision. Maybe the Exalt had it, but his energy reserves are low, so it did not like make as much of a difference. Because when you cloak it, the energy drain was going to be high. Scout always had infinite thermal vision from what I remember, but it's the same issue. His energy was low. But Mr. Black, well, I think it was the first DLC class that had infinite thermal vision and also a lot of energy reserves. So I kind of liked using him a lot. He had low speed, which was kind of his main weakness. Everything else, like HP, perk points, gear points, is like overall okay. He's also missing like among like one of the best specializations in the game. So overall, no, Mr. Black is not gonna be paid to win at all. Falconer was like just another scout variant, and the scout variant classes are definitely not pay to win. They're just like usually tend to be like overall inferior to the default hunter class anyway. So no. The next one that we got was Wolf, which was one of the most expected predators to come to this game, and it was a very disappointing release because I bought the class and I couldn't use it in the game. They took like a summer weeks to fix this. Like I had to wait despite buying the DLC, they had some issues or people were buying the class and the class was not as accurate as it was. They had to make a couple patches afterwards, like 2 patches, to make the class look to what it looked now. It didn't have like the body mesh, the face did not have the burns or the blind eye, and his armor just looked like, depending on the lighting, completely black. So it was a mess. Like I think it was one of the worst DLC releases for this game mainly because of like these technical difficulties. But the class was like okay, like the class stats wise, a lot of people are disappointed because of his low gear points and because we saw in the movie that he actually brought a lot of gear. So why make him like this? But I feel like he's in because of his spare points and his speed and energy kind of made up for that. Like so even now like Wolf is like a good class. He has like almost everything that you want in a class. However, he has low gear points, so it's like balance, you know. He became among the best Predator classes in the game, stats wise. However, he had one big weakness, just like the Valkyrie back then, of having low gear points. After him came the Emissary. The Emissary was not that good. It was like another Berserker variant. Berserker, as everybody knows, is still worst Predator class in the game. So they just took a Berserker, made him a little bit faster, and decreased his energy. So like really not that significant, not overall good class. After him, it came the Bionic class, which I launched, like I mentioned, was pretty much like the best Predator class in the game for a little bit. I think I would say until the Pirate and Amazon bundle was released. So I would say it lasted for like almost like 3 months. For 3 months, the Bionic was the number one best Predator class in the game. But even then, he had a weakness. He had low perk points. He could not use the meta perk combination of downrange, medic, and large punch. So that was significant. Sure, he was the class overall that would be considered to be the best. He had all the gear that you could carry, best specialization in the game, which was Stalker. Overall, good amount of speed, stamina, HP, energy reserves were high, infinite thermal vision, infinite cloak at the time. So overall, he was great. He only had one weakness, and at this time, the Fireteam still had the advantage in the game in regards to the power. Like the Fireteam still had Field Medic, they still had support. Dante Field Medic was still a thing. So I don't think that it was like that much of a big deal. But then when they made the second DLC bundle, which was with Amazon and Pirate, they nerfed the Bionic Energy. So now he only had Infinite Thermal. And when he started using Cloak, it was going to start draining. Which was kind of like annoying for me because I was enjoying it a lot. Like Bionic, I became a Bionic man when Bionic came out. It was my favorite class, not just because of his look, because I like the idea of a cyborg predator, but also it was so much fun to have not to worry about my energy overloading. It did give me more of a fair chance against certain fireteam players in private games, not having to worry about my energy or cloak making me energy overload, just making me exposed to the fireteam. So it was very useful. It was very useful. Sure, I cannot use the meta pair combination, but all his other stats kind of made up for it. Then when the Amazon Pirate came up, his energy was nerfed. Pirate had the same thing that he had. Pirate at launch was similar to the Bionic, or could be considered even be a little better because she could use the meta perk combination. She had more perk points. She was like a Bionic that had more perk points, so she didn't have the weakness of Bionic, but she was a little bit slower. Like she wasn't as fast as Bionic, but I think that overall, like it was still okay. HP, speed, stamina, perk points, gear points. She had Stalker at launch, was buggy. Like it was never intended for her to have Stalker. But this was, I think, yeah, this was around the time that they started to make DLCs with bugged specialization. Both Amazon and Pirate came with Tracker and Stalker, which is overall like among the best ones in the game. And because of this, it just did make them go to the top of the Predator tier right away. Pirate was like a little bit better than Bionic. She was like very similar to the Bionic for ranged gameplay. A lot of energy, HP, perk points, gear points, everything like okay to use, while not having to worry about any energy drain. So she was great for plasma builds. Amazon was what Valkyrie was at launch. She was a class like she became instantly the best class to use for melee. She had the best melee specialization in the game, which is Ghost. She has more HP, a lot of perk points, best melee specialization in the game, speed, stamina, HP. She has like everything. She's like completely superior to, let's say, Valkyrie, Berserker. Even in all four, she's like a cross. Amazon is like a cross between the tanky and the light class in the game. That's like the weird thing about her. She's like a scout with a lot more HP, or like a berserker that is much faster and has more stamina. So they took like the best stats of the heavy classes and the light classes and just gave it to the Amazon. So a lot of people go say, yeah, she's paid to win. Yeah, but she has low gear points. She still has a significant weakness. And at launch, although she could have Tracker and Stalker, at the moment she does not have those specializations anymore. Maybe you could say that Amazon with Tracker or Stalker was like a little bit better, and it was like a little bit pay to win or something, but it was like because of a bug. At the moment, I would say no, because she has the weakness of not having a meta specialization and low gear points. But all her other stats look overall good. Both Pirate and Amazon are like still overall like among the best ones in the game. They're like in the top tiers. Pirate specifically because of the drone additional and she has analytic. But still, her energy drain was nerfed. She's among the best ones in the game. She's better than, of course, the Hunter class, but it's like not that significant, especially because of all the tools that the fighting had. It's just like, in my opinion, not that significant. After that, we got the three Predators from the first AVP movie, Celtic, Scar, and Copper. Well, Copper is terrible. He's like a scout with even worse energy drain and low perk points. Might have more gear points, but it's really not enough to make up for it. Sure, he's fun to use because of his speed and stamina, but everything else is just so bad on him. So, yeah, definitely not pay to win. Scar and Celtic instantly became among the best Predator classes in the game, and they both had also bugged specialization. They both had Tracker and Stalker at launch from, I think, what I remember. At least Celtic for sure had Tracker. I don't remember if I ever had him with Stalker, but maybe some other people had it. But they had the same problems that Amazon and Pirate had, but they instantly became among the best ones in the game. Celtic was like a better version of City Hunter, pretty much. like a good amount of speed, stamina, while having analytic, more energy, infinite thermal vision, or infinite cloak if you use them separately, while having a lot of perk points. Scar became the best Predator with his Stalker specialization, but just by a little bit. I would say Bionic is still pretty close to Scar. It's just that Scar has a little bit more stamina and speed, which can make a little bit of a difference. It does make you more mobile, so I would say like stats-wise, I kind of prefer Scar, but I definitely prefer the Bionic look. But he has overall like a good amount of speed, stamina, HP, Stalker specialization, which was the best one in the game. His only weakness, like Bionic, was the low perk points. He had one more perk point than Bionic, so he had 10. However, for the meta perk combination of downrange, medic, and large punch, he needed 11, so having one more gear point did not make that much of a difference, But Scar was definitely considered to be the best ones in the game. Then they made a bunch of classes which were not that good. I would say ever since the October release on Xbox, the only good Predator class was the Exalted. And the Exalted, when I look at her stats, I instantly thought, damn, this is actually a good class. This class has potential of being like the best one in the game. But she has one big weakness, which is energy drain, because she doesn't have any other weakness. She has a good amount of HP. Her speed and stamina are among the best ones in the game. She has the Stalker specialization. She has a good amount of gear points. She can bring a lot of gear. She has a good amount of perk points. Unlike Bionic or Scar, she can bring the meta perk combination of downrange, medic, and large pouch. However, her energy drain is just too annoying. Like, it just limits the plasma caster usage, it limits you using cloak for longer. So, while comparing to Bionic and Scar, I would say like maybe they're still like overall a little bit better, just because of the energy drain. Because her energy drain can be annoying, and especially I would say Scar was always like a little bit better than her. Before they added the drones, I would place her and Bionic in the same tire, but now, since Bionic can carry traps and drones, while Exalted and Scar cannot, I would say Scar and Bionic are on the same tire, with Exalted being just a little under them, but just not that much, it's not that significant. But Exalted was the one class which could have the potential of being like pay to win. She had like the energy, same energy as Bionic at launch, then yeah, she wouldn't have any weakness. He would be a class with good HP, speed, stamina, gear points, perk points. She would have everything. But even then, I don't think it would be enough to counter the firefighting at its full potential. Because that's what a lot of people don't realize. The firefighting in this game is just so OP that even if you had a Predator with max stats, the max amount of HP, speed, stamina, gear points, perk points, best specializations, whatever, it still wouldn't be enough. The only thing that can really like do a lot of harm to the firefighting would be like using the smart disc, and that can be done with any class. Now, for the other Predator classes they added since October, Pharaoh, Gladiator, Anubis, which they're not that good. They're just not. So I'm not even gonna go much over them, but they have very significant weaknesses in comparing. You just use the Hunter class instead. So to summarize this video, I still consider Dante to be kind of pay to win, but support Fidomatic can be just as good. It's mainly when you use Dante and you already have like other players using support for you that Dante really becomes a problem. So Dante is a problem in the game, but so is support Fidomatic, which is a free class in the game. For the Predators, as I have shown in my video ranking the Predator classes, the DLCs tend to be a little better than the free classes in the game, but it's not that significant. Like, they are in a tier above them, but I don't feel like they're really gonna give such a big advantage on this game.